He built it from nothing. Jim Ordell, founder and lead minister, poured his life into this church, choosing the land, sketching how the sanctuary should feel, raising the steeple with volunteers on a windy Saturday. He even commissioned the stained glass windows from a small studio in Italy, blues like deep water, reds like candlelight, because he wanted the building itself to speak before he ever did. On Sundays, you could see those windows shining from the street as people climbed the broad steps. Inside, the sanctuary glowed, the choir in robes, the congregation leaning in, sunlight pooling through those Italian panes. Jim preached with joy and conviction, Bible in hand at the pulpit, a shepherd who knew his people by name as the church grew into the thousands. One late night, after a long day of hospital visits and last-minute counseling, Jim was driving home on a quiet country road. The dash clock glowed. The lanes stretched ahead. He was tired down to the bone, blinking hard to stay sharp as the dark pressed in around the windshield. Up ahead, movement. As Jim's eyes refocused, he saw a deer step out of the brush and into the middle of the road. Hesitant at first, then frozen, staring into his headlights. In that split second, the world narrowed. His foot tensed on the brake, his hands tightened on the wheel, his mind racing. Too close, too fast, nowhere to go. The deer wouldn't move. Heart pounding, he chose the only thing that felt possible. He swerved to miss it. The tires lost grip. Gravel hissed. The car skidded off the shoulder. The ground dropped. Branches flashed, then metal met wood with a brutal crack. When the noise stopped, the pain didn't. His back lit up and the world went small. The sedan lay halfway down a ravine, crumpled against a tree, and everything hurt to breathe. In the hospital, after scans and x-rays, the surgeon spoke plainly. The crash had fractured Jim's vertebrae in a way that left his spine unstable. If left unchecked, it could worsen or risk cord injury. They recommended urgent surgery to stabilize the area and allow healing. Jim bowed his head, prayed a few words that fit between the beeps and voices, and put himself into their hands. Recovery was slow. The pain clung to him like a weight. Strong medication helped at first, and the relief felt like mercy, but his doctor warned, "We'll taper." These aren't forever. As days went on, the pills began to take more than they gave. Sleep got thin, his focus slipped, steadiness wavered, and still the pain pressed on. When his prescription ended, and a second doctor told him the same thing, no refills, fear moved in. He realized it wasn't just the injury anymore, something in his body was demanding more. He called a cousin who traveled to Mexico. The first handoff at Jim's desk felt sleazy to both of them. The little bottle on the table, the quiet exchange, the uneasy look. But the pain, and now the pull, were louder. The cousin brought more, then more. It went on for months. Each time, Jim found a few hours of relief and a deeper layer of shame. Yet every Sunday he still stood at the pulpit. From behind you could see rows of faces lifted toward him, engaged, trusting. He smiled, he shook hands, he preached. But the fire was dimmer. Study took longer. Words hid in fog. And beneath the robe and the voice and the smile, a single fear grew. If people knew, if gossip started, everything he had built could collapse. At home, desperation found him. He knelt beside a chair, head bowed, hands clasped, shoulders heavy, and asked God for help he couldn't manufacture on his own. The pills dulled the pain but sharpened the fear. They hushed his body and stole his clarity. His wife stepped into the doorway and stopped. "Jim, what's going on?" Concern in her voice, not accusation. She came closer, steady and gentle, seeing the distress he'd tried so hard to hide. They sat together on the couch, facing each other. He told her the truth. She already knew everything except the end of prescriptions, the months of quiet exchanges with his cousin, and the addiction. She was disappointed, yes, but she didn't flinch. "We'll handle this," she said, quietly, together. Then the call came. His cousin had been arrested at the border. Agents had found the packages. The line went silent and the room felt smaller. Panic hit hard. Jim clutched the phone, fingers in his hair, and felt the body's demand rising. Withdrawal doesn't whisper. It shouts, sweat, tremor, gnawing fear, a mind that narrows to one thought. He whispered, "What am I going to do?" They opened the laptop together. A trusted friend, someone Jim had once counseled, had mentioned almost in passing that he'd gone through secret addiction for alcohol. Jim had never suspected. That's the point. Some battles are private. They read about the confidential interview, the standard 2-week protocol, and that care could be done discreetly in-home or at a private location. To protect their privacy, they chose Scottsdale. They booked the appointment that night. On Sunday, Jim told the congregation he would step away briefly for rest, recovery, and advanced training, an executive retreat. The assistant minister would lead while he was gone. He owed no one more detail than that. His people deserved his integrity, and his healing deserved his privacy. Addiction isn't weakness. It's a sickness that rewires pain and fogs judgment. Opioids can let a person look functional on the outside while stealing sleep, dulling memory and cranking tolerance higher, even turning pain against you. But when light breaks through the trees, there is a path, and there are hands to guide you to it. He completed the program. The ache eased, the fog lifted. At home, his wife stepped into him and wrapped her arms around him, and for a long moment, neither of them moved. He wasn't the same man who left. He was steadier, clearer, and free enough to breathe again. Tomorrow looked bright.